Watching this Malayalam remake made me realize how good Andhadhun was and what was the things that made that film good. Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince and today we'll be doing a comparative study between Andhadhun and its Malayalam remake Bhramam. I say this thing in my every comparative study. It's not at all about proving which is a better film. The purpose of this video is to study the different treatment of both the films, what were the changes and how they influence the narrative. Now you may like Andhadhun better or you may like Bhramam better. I also did a poll on a community tab and people had various opinions about the film. Now as always, watch Bhramam on Discord with other viewers followed by Andhadhun. So if you want to join us in the future, link in the description, come join the community. Now if I talk briefly, I think the biggest difference between both the films is the tone and the genre they wanted to go for with the same story itself. Andhadhun is more of a black comedy, it's noir, it's very quirky, whereas Bhramam also have this dark humor elements, but its treatment is more like a suspense thriller. And also at a lot of places, Bhramam is more commercialized and you can see it in the way it's shot and written. Now I'd seen the interview with Prithviraj and Mamta talking about Bhramam and how they wanted it to be a little different, and you can notice that difference in the film. It is a faithful remake. Some scenes are frame to frame similar, but there are a lot of differences and they have changed the plot a lot. And because of these differences, it becomes easy to compare the films and understand how these choices have led those films to different directions. Now Andhadhun was a 2 hour 15 minutes film, whereas Bhramam is 2 hour 35 minutes. And that's very interesting because one of the biggest criticism Andhadhun had that it could have been a shorter film, maybe 1 hour 45, 1 hour 50. So I was quite surprised that they elongated the film more than the original. See, one thing to notice that it's really difficult when you're watching a remake, considering the original just came 2 years back and it's still fresh in your mind. And as you're watching the remake, the original is playing in your head constantly. So you cannot really stop that comparison. Now in Andhadhun, the filmmaking was top notch. The camera work, the music was all part of this narrative and they were building the tension up. Whereas I found in Bhramam, the cinematography was very bland, the editing was very average. In Andhadhun, there are so many twists and turns and there's so many jump scares. You're not expecting anything and suddenly on your screen something comes and you're shocked. Whereas in Bhramam, that jump scares were missing. Things didn't feel sudden. They were orchestrated. The performances in the film is captured very theatrically. If something shocking has happened, there'll be a close-up of the characters. Suddenly the time will slow down and then the action will happen. Whereas in Andhadhun, the camera is like a witness to what's really happening and everything happens in real time. Things just keep happening one after the other. There's no pause, there's no slow motion. The camera stays very steady, mostly long shots in Andhadhun. Whereas in Bhramam, we constantly keep cutting to different characters' facial expression, then a long take, then a close-up, It's not like one is better than the other. It's about how is that helping the narrative. Now in Andhadhun, things keep happening one after the other, like the title Andhadhun. Whereas in Bhramam, there's a lot of breathing spaces between the scenes. Now one thing I was not a big fan in Bhramam was the mise-en-scene, the set design, the props, the way it's laid out. I felt they were trying to recreate the same sets from Andhadhun and that didn't work because the proportions of the houses, the placements of the props didn't really match and it felt really awkward. Now to talk more about it, I want to get into the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the films, you can stop it, go watch them and then come back. Also, if you find value in this video, hit the like button so the video reaches to more people. Consider subscribing and the bell icon to get notifications. Also, channel membership is live. If you want to support this channel, consider becoming a member. To know more, click on the join button. Now I want to first talk about the music because it's a very integral part of Andhadhun. Now if you're watching the channel for a long time, you would know I'm not good at music at all. But I could notice that there was something missing in Bhramam. While watching on Discord, I asked everyone, is it just me? Am I not getting good audio? Or is there some bass missing? There's not that enough impact in the music. And other people felt that too. So it was not just me. And in Bhramam, music is just there. Because it's a film, there should be music, that's it. Whereas in Andhadhun, music is the whole point why Ayushman's character is doing what he's doing. He's passionate about music. It's very well established in that film. He's, practicing for this competition through which he'll go to London. He's acting blind to elevate his art. And that's his reasoning for it. Even when he's all alone in his house, he puts that eye mask and roams around. He's still in character. He wants to be blind in that sense. Whereas in Bhramam, that's not the case at all. It's not really established that Prithvi's character is so passionate about music. Okay, he can just play piano and he's just acting blind so he could get a place with cheap rent and that's his reasoning for it. So already you made this difference to the main character which served a lot of purpose in the original, but here it doesn't really serve any purpose. Also, Ayushman's character is more vulnerable, is more emotional. He's freaked out when his eyes are taken off. He's angry. He doesn't know what to do. And even later in that film, he just wants his eyes back. That's his motivation. Whereas in Bhramam, Prithvi plays his character with more boldness. He's a stronger character. And by the end of the film, with the changes they did in the second half, he becomes more like a hero. The way he's delivering his dialogue, the way he has executed this plan, he's in control, Now I'll take my revenge from her. And every moment that happens. And maybe that happened because, again, they commercialized the film. They wanted to put hero in a certain way and portray him in a certain way so he doesn't come out as a bad guy and the audiences root for him. Maybe those were the reasons for that change. Now, I was told that in Bhramam, they wanted to make the character fit Prithviraj. So they made some changes. And that doesn't really make any sense to me. Why are you changing the character to fit Prithviraj? Why is not Prithviraj fitting the character? Let's come to one of the best scenes of the film. The moment they see the dead body. In Andhadhun, him playing the piano is a big part of the scene. He is scoring this scene, He's playing music for this scene, what's really happening in front of his eyes. And it's so beautifully done. Whereas in Bhramam, he's just playing piano, that's it. And again, as I said, the set design, the props look so different. In Bhramam, it's like clearly visible the moment you enter the house, you'll able to see the dead body. It's like wide area, you can easily notice that. Whereas in Andhadhun, the place is very compact. You really have to focus and see something, then only you'll notice something's wrong there. So, these small things really matter. In Andhadhun, Ayushman's character was expressing what he's going through in his mind, and that happens throughout the movie. Even when he's not playing, we hear the piano playing in different sequences, which projects what he's really feeling and what's going on in the film, which is very much missing in Bhramam. Now, I feel the police character in Bhramam doesn't really work. It works in Andhadhun because specific reasons about his character, which are very much changed in Bhramam, and it doesn't really work. Now, Unni Mukundam played that character in Bhramam, and I was told that he's a big star, so maybe they wanted to give him more screen time and all of that. But the thing is, in Andhadhun, how Manav Vij played that character, from the outside, he's very strong. He doesn't get scared. He's like that alpha male. And he holds that character until the end when his wife finds out and he's shit scared in the toilet. And that does two things, We never expected that to happen, and we are shocked when that really happens because we weren't expecting it. And second, it gives this character a different dimension. Whereas in Bhramam, from the first scene we introduced, in the toilet scene, which is my favorite in Andhadhun. Whereas here, he's already worried. He's scared. He's holding the gun, what will he do? What will I do, Whereas if you see in Andhadhun, he's so confident. He's just standing there looking at him and, checking his gun like, you do something, I'm gonna kill you. I don't care. So, that's very interesting. And again, after that, the police station scene. In Andhadhun, the camera just plays behind Ayushman. He sits there and says, I witnessed a murder. And Manav's character walks in. And we are shocked. Oh shit, he's a police guy. Now what will happen, Whereas in Bhramam, he goes to the police station. He says he witnessed a murder. So he's taken to the superior. When he enters there, the camera suddenly zooms in on Prithviraj's character. It's like, oh my god, something has happened. And then we cut to, oh, this is the same guy. So, in Bhramam, there's this build up. Whereas in Andhadhun, there's a sudden shock. Like, what will happen now? And again, there's nothing wrong with any of them. It's all about how you want to show that scene and which works for you. Now, as I said, Bhramam is like 15-20 minutes longer. And you can feel that while watching the film. It's stretched out in many moments. There are extra scenes added to it. And what happens when you elongate those scenes? The film suddenly dries out. It becomes serious. It's not fun anymore. And you can tell that difference because you have already seen a movie which has not done that. And when we talk about films, there's a thing, right? Oh, the pacing was off. They could have cut it down. And we always talk about it, right? We cannot really cut that film in that sense. But here we have an example what happens if you cut that film down. It becomes more engaging. Now let's talk about the changes that were made. Now first of all, in Andhadhun, there's a cat that Ayushman's character have, and you can see the cat from the beginning of the film. It's part of the narrative. Whereas in Bhramam, we never see the cat. And then he goes to the police station and says, my cat died, which we have never seen. And the first time we see the cat is at the interval portion, where his cat is poisoned and he's passed out. That's the first time we see the cat. Now I don't know if they forget about it or what happened, but that was a little weird. Now Rashi Khanna's character Anna, she was actually just a typical heroine in this film. Whereas in Andhadhun, the way Radhika Apte performed that character was just outstanding. And again, watching Andhadhun again, she's so good. She's not a typical heroine and love interest for Ayushmann. Not at all. She holds her own in that film. And even the build-up between those characters is so organic. Whereas in Bhramam, the moment they meet, both of them, are attracted towards each other. They get into this flirty mode already, which doesn't really happen in Andhadhun. And in Bhramam, after they make out, they don't meet for a long time, and then they directly meet in that scene where she comes and he's in the auto and she's like, what really happened and all, don't do this, and then she leaves. Whereas in Andhadhun, after they make out, in the morning she prepares breakfast for him, they talk about it, then from there he goes to perform for Simmi in her house, and then later in the evening he comes to perform and meet Radhika Apte's character again, where Simmi also comes and she's acting, waiting for the husband. He has not come, today is my anniversary, and there Radhika Apte's character Sophie and Tabu's character meet. So in Andhadhun it established that they know each other, whereas in Bhramam that never happens. That's never established. So at the interval scene where Rashi Khan comes to meet Prithvi's character, she is shocked to see what has happened, but she already knows whose Mamta's character is. And that I found very weird. Now another big change was, when the character comes back again to the house and he witnessed one more murder of the neighbor. In Andhadhun, the camera just stays on Ayushmann. His stick falls off, he just picks up and he acts as if he's blind and going to the house. He doesn't act like he has seen the murder, he just, continues it. Whereas in Bhramam, the lift opens, he sees the murder, Simmi sees him and the lift closes, he goes down and then he runs away. I was like, why? Why this? Now definitely she'll doubt you that you are not blind. Now after that, Simmi's cat in both the films, come to his house. Now in Andhadhun, it feels more organic because they have established that thing that Ayushmann's character will teach Tabbu's stepdaughter piano. So that's why she has come and she brought laddus and all of that. And again, that sequence done in single shot. Ayushmann opens the door, she's standing there, he's like, who's there? And she's like, oh, I am here. Done. In Bhramam, he opens the door, there's a big pause. There's a close-up of Prithvi's character, then there's a close-up of Mamta's character, and then after 2-3 seconds, he says, who's there? So that more of the drama is added. Now that scene in the night when the inspector comes to kill, that also in Bhramam, it's over-exaggerated. In Andhadhun, he hits him, jumps out of the balcony and runs away. And then on the road, he hits the pole and, is unconscious. Whereas in Bhramam, he hits him, he runs away, but he follows him. There's a whole chase sequence. Then it's very dark, Prithvi's character is hiding, and then again he hits him somehow, and then again he runs away, and then he hits the pole and gets unconscious, and the inspector follows him and he's following him, and suddenly an auto comes and crashes the inspector, and next day is all good. So this over exaggeration didn't really make sense to me. And the next day when he goes to meet Mamta's character and says I tried to kill him but he ran away, it's very different in Andhadhun. In Andhadhun, he didn't say what really happened. He just said he went missing and I had an accident, that's it. He's still being confident in front of her. Whereas in Bhramam, he accepts that he missed him. And then Mamta's character insults him. And then he thinks of blackmailing her. That both of you were together and you may get in trouble and I'll be free. And then Mamta's character shows those selfies that they had and blackmails him back. Which again, doesn't really serve a purpose. Because in Andhadhun we saw that it could have been done without it. In Bhramam, when the police inspector takes the money to that building, there they have this whole video call and he has to show his body, that he's not carrying a gun. That so unnecessary. And the biggest difference in Bhramam is that the characters who were trying to get his kidney, they didn't betray him. Whereas in Andhadhun, they betrayed him. And that makes so much sense. That they were willing to sell his kidney, but he tells them that he can get them 1 crore rupees, so they'll not do anything. But now they are like, oh, we can have all the money, why to give him anything? So they betray him there. And that makes so much sense. Whereas Bhramam, that doesn't happen at all. And the whole ironic thing for these characters, right, that they got the money is fake and his brother also died. And the doctor says, do you want to donate the organs? That's such an ironic scene. In Andhadhun, it works so well, whereas in this movie, it becomes an emotional, melodramatic scene. And I think apart from that, it's very similar. At least the outcome is. Now, definitely, I felt filmmaking-wise and technical-wise, Bhramam was not up to the mark. You expect the new film to be better in that aspect. But here it was opposite. And I always believe, don't fix something that's not broken. The camera work and cinematography is so interesting and part of the narrative in Andhadhun, which they could have replicated here also. But they tried to do something different, which didn't really work for me. So guys, there's the video. This was a long one. And again, this was a comparative study. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I did give my reasons, but again, it's a very subjective thing. You may like one thing and I may like one thing. But definitely it was an interesting exercise. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Through channel membership, you can support this channel and help me continue this journey ahead, and in turn you get various perks. To know more, click on the join button. For more information, check out the community page. So guys, that's the video. Thank you for watching. If you like this, hit the thumbs up button, share this video. If you haven't subscribed, check out the videos. If you like them too, do consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.